It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent his messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears, that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the message, not to oppose. But by them understanding through those who have become Messiahs, to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque and in the same church in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion that is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, path of peace is laid very clearly. It's the soul of the collective awareness, by giving, will create that position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, try to be humble enough not to become arrogant in the power that you have understood and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. It carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of a president. They all shine irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When We look through our soul, we see nothing but we star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand. To be there, to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life, in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle, which that cycle carries with itself the origin of the creation of life in the universe and in the universe. It's the elevation of the soul to serve become the key, not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Welcome everyone to the 47th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace. It's Tuesday, July 17th, 2018. I'm your host, Rick Cramen, today, and we are ready to begin with Caroline Keshe of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute and other knowledge seekers as they turn up today. Caroline, are you ready to go for today?
Yes, I am. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, everybody. Oh, we have had a busy week everywhere, don't we? As usual, and the holidays are starting, more children are everywhere, so places are not so quiet as we used to, because if they're in school, the streets are very quiet. So I hope and I wish you all, for the ones who have started or still starting or about to start, to enjoy your holidays, the time off, the nature, or wherever your holiday is going to take you. I really, really wish you a pleasant holiday. Take your ganses with you, take your knowledge with you, and above all and everything, shine like a knowledge seeker. You're all gorgeous. I was going through our website and I had some conversations on my traveling, and I said, this is very interesting. I went through the page of the commandments. I went through the page of the World Peace Treaty signing. And the teams have done such a great job. And I mean, there are teams working on these accessible platforms. You cannot even imagine the wording, the music, the knowledge, this know-how, the skills, ideas, the colors, the designs. These are teams which are working together to make it and bring it so beautiful. I thank all of you. We cannot thank you enough, because that makes it so accessible that I can just go, copy a link and say, this is what your interest, this is what you want to know. And I just pass it on, or I repost it on my Twitter or my Facebook, just to wake it up again or refresh it. So I spoke to the team before we started. I said, I took a screenshot from the last bit from the commandments. And it struck something that I would like to share today or start the topic with. If Flint or Rick can bring it onto the page, if they have taken a screenshot. And if Rick, if you would be so kind to read it for me, please. It's the last one.
Sure.
No, it's not that one.
It's not that one?
Just wait. Oops.
Which one do you want?
Yeah, the last one. Thou shalt believe in one creator for all man. Just that one.
Yeah,
and then
stuff here.
everything below. Yeah, if you can increase it a little bit, because it's very tiny for me.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's good. I can see that. And this is from the
it's a
204th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, I believe. Correct?
Yeah, you can post the link that people can go back if they want to read it, or...
I've got a link. I can post in the chat here. That's the actual link. If I could find my chat window here, okay.
Thank you very much, Rick.
There you go. And that'll take you directly to that part of the video. So let me go ahead with it. And this starts at 2 hours and 43 minutes and 43 seconds into the 204th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. And it starts like this. If Moses would have thrown all of the 10 commandments in the bin and carried one with him, we would have been totally different. And that was, thou shalt believe in one creator for all of them. Then nobody would have been jealous. Nobody would have been done the rest. We have a lot to go. We have to learn, but the problem is this school has 7 billion students, and we have all sorts. Those are who carry a lot of lines of abbreviation of names of doctors and professors, and their soul is still in the nursery. And we have those who clean cars, and their souls sit in the universities of the soul of the man. The degree of physicality does not show the level of the soul of the man, and that's the beauty of it. That's why in the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, we give no certification, because we only teach, and the elevation of the soul of the man at the point of need becomes the graduation of man, not in what we ask in the term of physicality. Join the KF SSI and learn. Then the knowledge and the purity of these teachings go back to the first days until now, even today.
Thank you very much, Rick. Anybody, any questions about this topic, please? Anybody wants to add their understanding of this topic? It's going to stay quiet today, or are we going to go full boosting?
Maybe you need to give us a bit of a hint on why this why this commandment was so powerful to you. There is some special meaning that struck you sometime in the last few days, and you decided, wow, I got to put this out. So what was that kernel that struck you, and maybe you can remind us through that?
That the beauty, because I read the above as well, and where he says that the beauty sits in how to elevate another soul, while actually in physicality, it is very difficult to even to put it in applying in real good understanding what the meaning is, but then put it into function. And the funny thing is that your physicality keeps on diverting you to what you have been conditioned to. And it is sometimes very hard to jump over that fence and try to keep focused on the elevation of the other person in front of you or around you. It is like a full platform of know-how, understanding, applying. It's like we skip that part. It's something which doesn't come so very, very easy. We try to go into the matter state by giving somebody a hand, supporting somebody who's sick, teaching somebody something, but that's all in the physicality. So for maturing and uplifting the soul which is in front of you, doesn't matter what soul it is, where it's coming from, what color it has, it doesn't matter. It is what it is when it appears in front of you, that not to look at it as a person, which I think that makes it so difficult because you see the physicality and you straight away start analyzing, and literally you're like a walking scanner, and that's what you've been taught and that's what you've been conditioned to, which is okay. But the funny part is that the beauty comes if you can understand that somebody is struggling in front of you, or you see them making mistakes, or you see through your own interaction with somebody else that it's not the way it should be. It's not with what we have understood from the teachings. So it's then that very tiny little moment to walk in your mind a step backwards and stand still, and to give by ignoring whatever is physically in front of you, even smell, taste, sense, everything should be replaced by purely, I just give. Because by that way of interacting with who appears in front of you, and you release that energy, that's how you elevate your own soul. And this is the whole journey in this understanding for you to shine more as a soul. But it can only be done when you put your physicality in the motion of doing it, which means intentionally not going and walking and getting lost in discussions or pain or whatever you're getting in front of you. And I've been testing and trying to see with myself, how hard is it actually in reality than just talking about it? How far where do we test ourselves in what we have understood, that we don't walk so easy in the traps? And where can I apply it? And where I'm going to go on that journey before I even arrive to see what I can release, because my intent is to do so, but not to harm and not to force, but just for that to be there for what it is serving the other person. So there is no attachment in for what purpose or what to change, because then I can say, or I can make the decision, I see you doing better, or I see you more friendly, because I visually see you going in a good mood and very friendly. So that's then the attachment to the intent, which is always positive. And then I came to the bottom line of this and I said, okay, what does that tell me in what the message was from Mr. Keshe? And when I opened it up, I thought he's actually explaining to all of us that it doesn't show who you are in any shape or form, depending on your clothes, your color, your style. It has nothing to do when you jump to the level of the soul, which means it doesn't carry a name tag, because the soul works from that point of interaction. So in so many ways, it's a hint of, it doesn't matter how you're dressed, it doesn't matter how you look, it doesn't matter from what part of the world you come, you appear or you behave, your soul is what is so important. And if you work through the understanding, even through these tiny little parts, to work through the intent to do something that you usually would not do, or take the time to think about something that it's not built in our day-to-day life to be busy with it. But if you get or feel something is not right, and you can have that image from yourself that you say, you know, I can do better than this, or I can change something, to take the time to do it. And that's all you need to do. That was my point of when I went through the commandments, Rick. Your point of view, Rick?
Well, that's very interesting. Yes, that's that is the crux of the matter, so to speak. That's something that if you consider that idea that who we are looking at, or even the situation we're looking at, maybe the environment we're looking at, is essentially an illusion in a way, because of our senses. Our senses say that the table in front of me is there, but can I really trust my senses to tell me that is really the essence of the table that's sitting in front of me? What would it look like if I was totally in the plasmatic state? Maybe the table wouldn't look like the same physicality table that it looks like now. And if we were able to look at the people around us from the soul perspective, would they appear the same? Would we, be attracted or repelled by certain features or clothes that they might wear, or the sound of their voice, or different things like that might either attract us or make us repulsive from those individuals. But perhaps there's a different way to approach it. I was actually thinking this earlier today, that in the same way that division is part of the political process that we see in the world today. Politicians create division, and then through that division, they can control people. A classic example is: are you left wing or right wing? Oh, geez, do I have to have wings? Do I have to choose which wing to fly on? I thought we need two wings to fly on. I can only choose one. Or are you Republican or Democrat, or are you, liberal or conservative? And so we get these splits, and that's part of our analytical mind automatically gets into that. Okay, I've got a decision. I have to make a decision right away. Well, I'm this or I'm that. But we aren't the this or that we are talking about. We are a soul. We are perhaps experiencing certain things through the physicality and whatnot, but we are not the physicality, and this is what we have to really get a grip on, because if we believe we are the physicality and that's all there is, then when the physicality dies and crumbles away into the earth, then that's where our attention will be. But if our attention is on the soul, then when it comes time to pass, what we call passing or death, then perhaps there's a chance, since we weren't so rooted on the physicality and not so totally immersed and identified with the physicality, that perhaps we can make that separation and carry on to another life or another existence without having that strong attachment to the physicality, which could draw us back into the gravitational field of the earth and of the heaviness of the atmosphere and earth of that we find ourselves in. So if we want to go to space, we have to lighten up and remove the baggage that we have that attaches us to this planet. And much of that is through our identification with the physicality and how important it is, and right down to every hair on our body, it has to be in the right place so that we look okay, and so on. That's often an underlying attitude with people when we're out in public and so on. We want to look good for others. But are we looking good inside? Do we prepare ourselves inside as much as we do outside, so that we are able to engage with the other souls of the world rather than on a physicality to physicality basis? So that's a bit of a perspective that I got from that, what you're talking about. And again, how that gets applied in the ordinary day-to-day activities and interchanges, well, that's the real trick. And if you're a master, of course, then you're able to do that. That's what being a master is all about. It's a master of yourself, of knowing yourself, who you really are, and applying that in the ordinary interchanges of everyday life, and knowing that the appearance is not necessarily what the thing is. So even though most of us have only the physicality appearance to go off of, perhaps we can learn to use our sensing and our inner abilities to connect with others on a deeper basis, once we have the physicality sort of a bit under control, or at least in the background more than the forefront, let's say. Any of that make any sense? It's one perspective anyway.
I would love to hear from other knowledge seekers how they have experienced this journey.
Moshfek, perhaps I could add something. Yes, this is elevating others is something that many of us want to do. And how do we go about doing this? In a practical sense, what can we do to make this happen more often or more regularly? Perhaps if we look at some of Mr. Keshe's teaching, and he has been talking about this in several occasions as far as I can remember. And in a way, we Easterner would call it work starts at home. And perhaps the American version would be, what have I done lately? But it's the same story. So what can I do or we do today to move towards this mastery that Rick was referring to? Yes, mastery does not come in one day, but what can we do to have meaningful progress? One of the things that Mr. Keshe has mentioned a few times is that when he wakes up in the morning, he makes an intention of what he would like to achieve. Or, I mean, I'm not exactly using his same words because perhaps these are the words I use, but anyway, but he mentioned several times that he repeats his wishes in the morning when he wakes up, when everything is quiet and calm. So how does that work? If we make that intention in the morning, what happens is that, yes, the first day, let's say if I make the intention and I go out and see two people on the road, one driving a Mercedes-Benz, one is coming on a donkey cart, one is stinky, one obviously not, but if something like that is in our soul or in the back of our mind, let's call it that for simplicity, then what is possible is that although our automatic reaction might be to whatever, look at the physical aspect of it, but sometimes we will get a nudge or a hint. And once we do this, we'll see that this happens. Nudge or a hint, and that we have to not do what we have been customarily have been used to doing, like, well, meet the well-dressed guy or whoever. And in that process, first time it may not happen. We may just get a nudge. But the next day, perhaps we may not talk to the guy who is on the stinky donkey cart, but at least we won't do our automatic think of meeting the celebrity or whatever. But in that sense, it slowly builds up, and this can be easily tested. And once we do this, make this a practice, then things start to unfold. And first we notice our emotional reaction, and then its interaction with the intention, which is from the soul level. And one starts to understand not only one's action of elevating others, but what one is doing. And perhaps how one may be able to use this wish or enhance this wish in the direction so that this application, this practice, can materialize rather quickly. So we can always look at, let's not look at the guy with the fancy car, but then we are dropping to the physical physical strength. But if we operate at the level of soul strength, beyond even the emotional level, then it's slowly, I mean, yes, since we are not used to doing it often, it does not register. But as one gets more tuned to it, then one notices, yes. And then the emotion starts to cooperate slowly. And then the whole operation tends to work. And one's conduct, we said, there's a saying that conduct is consciousness. So what happens is that the consciousness becomes conduct by slowly coming from the soul level to the physical level. We can work, yes, it is possible to work at the emotional level or the physical level, but I'm a lazy person, so I prefer the easier way. So it can be done. It's not that, I mean, people have done it. Gandhi is a good example of it. Although Gandhi had teachers himself, and they did it in different ways from this kind of approach. And but it is possible at the physical level or emotional level, and there are plenty of examples of it. But the easier route generally is what Mr. Keshe has been referring to his teaching, is to make one's intention and then build on it. And so this is my thought in practically doing what is being mentioned by Caroline about elevating the other soul. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mashak. Always like your insights. Reminded me of, you mentioned the physical and the emotional and whatnot. In the East, they would have, for the physical, they would have people that would be what's called a fakir. And that would be someone who would adopt physical extremes in order to try to reach the creator in themselves, basically. And so you might have somebody that sits on a flagpole or adopts some posture for many days in a row, or some other extreme of the physical in order to reach a different state of being. Then with the emotional realm, one might become a monk or a priest or some sort of maybe not religious, but a spiritual sort of retreat or something like that, and work with the emotional realm. And then they have, in the East, there's also what's called a guru. And the guru would tend to work in the mental realm, or the working with the mind and the wonders and the effects and so on that can be achieved through working with the mind. And I think with Mr. Keshe, and perhaps there's been an ancient path that's been available, which would be a more direct path that includes the physical, emotional, and mental realms, but transcends them all, and is basically, as Mashfaq was talking about, it's a more direct way, which has to do with intention and attention in the moment. And it's seems to be involved with this act of giving, and the idea of giving from the soul, and this connection that we have with others. So perhaps we don't have to go through 20 years of extreme postures or 20 years of extreme meditation techniques or 20 years in a monastery. Perhaps we can spend our time right now just being present and applying the principles that we've already been given as to how to make this this soul connection. And we certainly have lots of information, lots of background, lots of works from Mr. Keshe, and probably hundreds of drawings as well on the whiteboard. And yet it's still somewhat elusive. It's something that we still find ourselves finding the words to even talk about, perhaps, because it's not something that's taught in our schools. The idea of how to be conscious right now in the moment and give from your soul. It's not, you know, class number 1 in elementary, middle, or high school, and seldom taught in universities as well. And even then, probably more on an intellectual basis instead of a practical basis. So this is a new, in a way, a new teaching that's coming into the world, and it's important that it gets spread and taught, in my opinion. Okay, would anybody else like to weigh in? We have an attendee with their hand up. Avram will allow you to talk. Would you like to go ahead?
Yes, you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Very good. I was thinking a long time about the same lines, and what I remembered, Mr. Keshe insisting a lot of, at some places at least, a lot on not too much considering the facts we see in the physical world, but much more putting our intention on our wish, which is our desire, for example, for peace. Because if we look at things which are already materialized in the world, and we know that actually it is our thoughts which materialize things in the world. The world as it is reflects exactly what we think and what we put out as a vibration energetically most of the time. That doesn't mean if we think in the morning during our 5 minutes meditation, the wish for peace, and the rest of the day we quarrel with our neighbors and with our wives and stuff. So that would mean we would create a lot of quarrel and non-peace in the world by the vibration we put out during the day. But so if we look at everything which is already materialized, that means it is past, it's done, it's over. We did already create it. So to care about what is has a danger, the danger being that our vibration and our thoughts, which when they turn around things that have already existing in the so-called reality physically, then we reproduce the same thing. So we prolong what we don't want. On the other hand, if we just see, well, there may be still war going on in some places in the world. I do not want to go deeper into that, but it's something I do not want. And everything I do not want has intrinsically like an arrow towards what I do want. I do want peace. So I think about peace. I think about how what I like with this great tool, internet, Facebook, and so on, and YouTube, we can see so many things which happen already peacefully, like a movement, Children for Peace, it's a global movement, or Kolulam, which is an Israeli movement, which they make people sing for peace, Muslims and Christians and Jews all mixed together. And it's so elevating. So if I keep on thinking during my day, mostly about what I do want and not so much being concerned with all this negativity, which is already there, then I am on the, how do you call that? Leading edge, yes. Then I'm on the leading edge to create the peace and all these things I want in the world. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Abraham. And you could say where you're from, perhaps, for us?
Oh, yeah. I am Aviram. I live in Quebec, in Canada. And great. I am a private student since ever and forever.
Yes, right on. Thank you. Okay, do we have... Okay, I've got a statement from Facebook from Mark House, and Flint encourages me to read it here, so I'll do that. Abraham, I'll have to mute your microphone there. It's getting some feedback. Thank you. And, okay, this is from Mark House. It's a paragraph. Let me read it. There is no fault in the duration sustained over years in pursuit of idealist changes to the current status quo. Like a heralding of better times to come, where the sufferings of mankind are replaced by themes of Promethean kindness and generosity, we have brought more to tomorrow's table for man to revel in and envision with wonderment. Such undertakings to maintain a steady teaching quota and the building of a supportive class of dedicated students worldwide is a task few could accomplish, as Mr. Keshe has done. Instead of holding him up to examine his shortcomings, it has been my pleasure and honor to have looked at the man through the eyes of an active student. Detractors we have seen critical of his life's work seldom achieve anything that can match such self-sustained openness as Mr. Keshe, but merely offer contemptuous remarks that lack understanding of such efforts. Much has been accomplished. There are no perfect men nor women. In praise of mankind, we are calling for a renewal of policy when men offer service to a greater purpose, helping each other by offering, in today's words, disruptive technologies to become the next in line as man blazes new paths to his own becoming. It's from Mark House on Facebook. Thank you very much, Mark. Mark runs the Golden Age of GANs group, and he also has been putting out some lovely music as well in his channel. Okay, anybody else who... I've got Elizabeth with her hand up. Would you like to go ahead?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. And
wonderful.
You can announce where you're from too.
Certainly. This is Elizabeth, also known as Libby, and I'm from Nova Scotia, Canada. And what I'm hearing being said is something I know this so to be true. Everything is an inside job. In other words, there is nothing out there that we didn't create by either focusing our attention on it or holding a thought about it. And it is the most beautiful thing to realize what incredible creators each and every one of us are, and to maintain compassion for our fellow beings when you see that they have brought inside their own lives things that they're not happy with. And we all do it. I certainly have brought things inside my life. But to know that I'm the one responsible for it is the most freeing experience, because it means I'm the one that can change it. And I love Caroline's private classes. I love all of the KF education classes, and I love these workshops. And I just want to express what great gratitude I have for these weekly meetings, and great gratitude for both Mehran and Caroline Keshe. They really are the most magnificent duo that have come to help enlighten us to what we've done and what we're doing and how we can change it. So thank you. I don't have much else to add, except this is such a beautiful. Thank you.
I was going to ask you, Libby, whether you found a way to use that feeling of gratitude
everywhere and anywhere. Thank you. If I just repeat thank you in everything I do, I start to buzz. Magic happens. It's just thank you for the fly. That reminds me of flies. Thank you for even anything that could bother me. Thank you. What is my lesson here? Because everything is a gift. So just even internally, externally, but just internally keeping thank you. And then also Caroline reminded us in, I think it was last week's class, when you go to bed, say to yourself, I am peaceful. And you are. We are the directors of our show. We are the center stage. And everybody is their own center stage. And letting each person have center stage and appreciate what they're going through, sending them gratitude for the sharing, sending them using plasma banking or however works for you, a wave of love, a bubble of love. Vernie came into our class again this morning, and it's just so exciting to see how all the groups that we may, or masters that we may have interacted with or read over the courses of years, and then finding the Keshe Foundation and Mr. Keshe's work, they're all assimilating into this beautiful whole, WHOLE, and I feel such a feeling of joy, elation. We're doing it, and we're all experiencing what we need to experience for this moment. It may be like the woman who died to save the people on the plane. She went out the window. I don't believe she knew what was going on when it happened, but it happened, and maybe her soul knew. And by that very act of being in that seat, she saved a plane load of people. And to start seeing where is the benefit? And not do things for benefit, but when you have something that doesn't immediately look like a good thing, to know that we don't experience anything that we don't need to experience. So if I'm having this experience, whatever it is, it's for me to learn from. And that makes being alive really wonderful. Because, for instance, many of us charged our own dynamic reactors for the Chinese event. And I, of course, have a question. Does anybody have news on that? But I felt while I was doing it, and I was sending as much joy as I could possibly imagine, and I imagined lots of it, to the plasma bank towards the Chinese community, celebrating that there was a success, feeling the success. Meanwhile, there was a few neighbors, a few houses down from mine. There was a party going on, because for me it was at 7 p.m. my time. And it was like their joy was adding to my joy because they were celebrating. And it just felt like the whole world was celebrating. And you just take what's happening and use it to what it is. And now part of me could have been, oh my, they're noisy and here I'm trying to concentrate. Instead of that, it was, wow, this adds to it. So looking for how you can make the best of everything.
Well, thank you for elucidating on that. That was lovely.
You're welcome. Thank you for what you do, Rick.
And you said something about bugs, even bugs. It reminded me of a little event that occurred with me about probably 2 weeks ago. I was in my bathroom area, and all of a sudden there was a bug, like a big bug. This bug was a very unusual bug. I've never seen one like it. It had large legs and fairly strong looking legs and a segmented body. It had an articulated head that could turn around on its own, like it could move its head quite well, like a human could, basically. And it was large, and it was just suddenly there. Sorry, we have to mute. Thank you, Caroline. So there was this bug, and normally when I'm confronted with a large bug, it's a bit surprising. I don't leap out and crush them like I might have as a child or something in an earlier time. So I got a spoon. I carefully lifted them up and I put them outside. I dropped them out through the window. And I thought, oh, that was a really unusual looking bug. And that was, really cool, but he should be outside, not inside. And I didn't think anything of it. I went doing some other work, and a few hours went by. And all of a sudden, I was at my computer, and this was like many rooms away where my computer was. And all of a sudden, right beside my keyboard, this same bug shows up. There it is, right in front of my keyboard. And I just couldn't believe it, that this same bug, this unusual bug with this, it's essentially an alien looking bug. It's not something that I have normally seen. It's very unusual, especially for this area, I would say. And there it was. And I just decided, well, let him do whatever he wants to do. And I'm not going to bother him. It's like a little mascot. For some reason, he needs to be here right now. He or she or it needs to be here at this moment. And I'll just let it be. And so I went back to my work, and I got distracted for a few minutes. And then the bug was totally gone. Totally gone. I could not find it anywhere in the room. I looked all over. I thought, oh no, this little friend I have, he's gone, and I should have paid more attention. And I thought I should have had some, should have, would have, could have, but I felt like I had this connection with this tiny little bug. And it's the strangest thing. And I've had the recurring memory of it, that maybe I should have taken better care of that bug somehow when he did show up, and like it was there. Maybe I should have established better communications or something.
Can I jump in here and say something? Because I love where you're going with this. For me, when I see a bug now, any bug, but I often, especially a special bug, shall we say, one that we don't see too often, I think of them as extraterrestrials coming to say hi, see where our level of, are we wanting to kill them or are we wanting to be peace? It's kind of like a check-in from the universal community saying, okay, so where are you at? And if we swat them, they know where we're at. And if we do interact with them or at least give them the space to be wherever they want to be, then that's a signal that we've reached peace. And so I totally get it. I'm so glad you wondered about your interaction with that.
That's exactly it. Yes. And when you start to look at life in different dimensions, like both if we look at things going smaller and smaller, from the physical down to the chemical and the plasmatic, and right down to the atomic levels and beyond the atomic levels and so on. Well, part of that small world is the world of insects and bugs and of course bacteria and viruses and so on, if you get even smaller range. But the small range is basically tiny birds and large bugs and down to small bugs and all that. And then in the macro, we get our immediate environment, maybe the home, and then the village, and then the city, the nation, and then the world, and then beyond the world into the galaxy, and so on and so forth. So we have all these different dimensions, and it occurs to me that in the dimension of the bug, it has its own intelligence in that area that is way better than ours. If we were to shrink ourselves down into the level of the bug to be the same height as the bug, we'd be in big trouble, because we would be basically bug food. We wouldn't have the defenses to be able to fend for ourselves. They have defensive structures as well as sensitive, hairs and antennas and so on, to be totally sensitive to their environment and to interact with their environment. So for them, they are conscious in their environment. They are controlling where they're going according to the conditions of their environment and so on. And especially when you see one that has an articulated head that actually turns its head to look up at you, and you go, oh, wow, there's something there. It's not just it's not like a little wind-up toy kind of thing. It has a life. It has its own entityness that is actually very special and very unique. And in the insect kingdom, they have very strange and wonderful, beautiful colors and iridescence and all of this various ways of interacting and defending themselves and all that. It's an amazing world, actually. And of course, I've always known that, but somehow in the last, maybe, well, especially probably the last few years, but in the last decade, I would say, but I've tending to be more lenient toward bugs and even mosquitoes, but it's hard to give them a break all the time. How far does this go? How far can we go with this idea of being peaceful with peaceful with one's environment? And when it comes right down to it, it does depend on our actions will reveal our intention basically at that moment. And if we are, it's one thing to accidentally say, walk on an ant when you didn't know the ant was there and you were, busy going about your business and so on. It could be just collateral damage in a way. But what if you saw the ant, but you were walking and you didn't stop your gait and stop your foot movement enough to start to not crush the ant and just went, oh, well, and then stomped on it and just carry on. Well, that's a different attitude than one that maybe was paying a little more attention in the moment and aware of one's surroundings, and with the intention not to hurt others, not to cause distress to any other beings. And part of that would be, oops, there's an ant, I'll just avoid it. I can step a little to the left or right and just carry on. I don't have to step in that exact spot. And, you know, number one is noticing to start with. And number two is having that preset intention of peace, so that there's not the, so that the physicality doesn't get in the way of its, you know, that my, that feeling of what I'm doing is the most important in the world, and I can crush others and it's not a problem because I'm on a mission and look out, basically. So it's an interesting topic, and part of it is your attitude. So I have sort of a thing now that bugs can either bug you, or you can learn to live with them. And I sort of, the ultimate test for me is that I've been considering for a number of years now, is I'm locked in a small room and there's only one light bulb, and somehow I get fed every day, and that's it. I'm somehow stuck in this room, and there's only one other life form in the room, and it's a mosquito. And you're there in this room with a mosquito for what could be infinity, for all you know, for the rest of time. And so do you kill that mosquito to stop it annoying you when it buzzes in your ear and it bites you? It has to bite every day in order to get its blood supply. Do you allow it? Do you give it part of your blood in order to allow it to survive? Or do you take out that life form so that it, in theory, makes your life easier or less annoying than it is right now? But on the other hand, you'll be by yourself for the rest of eternity, rather than having some other life form that you can interact with in that lonely room. So that's kind of the perplexing question that I throw to myself, and more and more I'm leaning toward learning to live with the mosquito rather than taking it out for my own instant gratitude. So I defer that instant gratitude and go for the long-term possibility of elevation, of either I can elevate myself to the point where it no longer becomes annoying to me to have this mosquito bite and buzz in my ear. And maybe it could even be fun. Maybe I can even transform that experience into something that's actually pleasant rather than painful. Or maybe I can transcend beyond the pleasant and pain aspect and just look at it impartially as part of the phenomena that's the illusion and phenomena that goes on in the physicality, and allow it to just be as it is. So different approaches there, and it's an interesting question coming from, all stemming from insects to start with. And it's
Rick, maybe you can elevate the mosquito's soul, and the mosquito might be a wise one too, and elevate your soul as well.
Yes, indeed. This is the thing. You never know really who we're dealing with, and it's whether it's a so-called bum on the street or the highest president in the world. They're essentially all equal in terms of our possibility of getting an elevating experience out of it, let's say. So got to be careful who you're talking to, because you could be talking to a elevated guru from somewhere who just happened to look like a bum on the street at that time, or a hobo. Okay, we've got a couple of people with their hands up here, so maybe we'll hear from Mark first. Go ahead, Mark.
Yes, it must be the day for bug stories. I have a bug story from yesterday, a short little bug story. I took my father to the doctor's yesterday for an examination. So we're waiting for the doctor to come in. Well, he finally comes in. And all of a sudden, this very small, I don't think it was an ant, but it looked like an ant, but I couldn't really tell if it was an ant. It was less than 1/4 of an inch. I said, oh, look, there's a bug. And it was coming across the floor. And, you know, he's in an examination room, and the doctor, I could feel, was a little embarrassed. So the doctor goes to step on the bug, and he misses. And I said, no, wait. And he says, oh, you're one of those. And I get a little piece of paper, and I try to get the bug on the paper, as you did, Rick, with the spoon, you know. So without even thinking, I said, his soul is equal to your soul. And I could feel the feels of the doctor were taken back, you know. So I just did it without even, you know. And so then later on, you know, he's examining him, and it's been his regular doctor for a while. So I asked him, you know, I've been telling him a little bit about so I asked him to go on the website and sign the World Peace Treaty and look into the health uses of these fields and so on. But I thought that was just a cute bug story that fit in with Elizabeth's and yours a little bit.
That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Imagine changing the people of the world, and doctors especially, when they're always interacting with people, and they should be learning more about the soul rather than the sole of their shoe squishing a bug. I mean, that's perfect. Okay, Doug, I think it's time for you here. Let's hear from you. Do you have a bug story to bug us with today?
Yeah, I do. It's an old ancient story that I read a long time ago. In what we call India, long ago, there was a person who was born in a town, and he had been, as the story goes, previously a great king, but he was born because he'd learned lessons about being a king, and he returned as a person who didn't speak. He was born in a very elevated, educated, I should say, family. And his father had great hopes because he was a good-looking baby, but he just wouldn't speak, and he wouldn't engage in any of the programs that he was able to if he wanted. And he just grew up, didn't wash, didn't care. His hair grew long. He would just walk about with an amazed look on his face, just taking everything in, and the people around would call him names and spit at him sometimes, and dogs would run at him and bark. He didn't wear clothes. He was, a standout in the crowd, and he was the joke, the village idiot, if you like. And one day, the current king of that particular region was coming along on a palanquin, which is a raised stretcher-like thing with a big seat on the top, carried by strong people. And there was a need for someone to replace one of the palanquin carriers, and the king spied this rather large, unkept looking person and said he can come and help carry the palanquin. Put him on. So they sort of put him on the corner of the palanquin, and the king proceeded along. But the palanquin, as soon as this person's name was Judd Bharat, as soon as he joined the team of palanquin carriers, it was rocky and bumpy, and the king was getting jostled, and the king is looking at what's going on. What this isn't good. And he noticed that this Judd Bharat was avoiding walking on the ants on the road. Anytime he saw a little creature, he was stepping around it, making the palanquin move, left and right. And people were getting upset because they could see the king was being jostled and so on. And they were about to sort of toss Judd Bharat back into the crowd and get another person perhaps. But the king said, stop. I understand. I can see what's going on here. This person is not wanting to kill even one ant by carrying this royal palanquin around. And so I can see this person is actually a highly elevated soul. And from that moment on, people took a different view of Judd Bharat. And the king, said, this person should be respected because of his knowledge, even though by outward appearance he looks like he does. He's actually moved beyond the physicality of trying to keep up appearances. And I thought that was a really relevant story to this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. You always have some good stories to share.
I got another one that happened like you, Rick, the other day, just funnily enough. I was in the kitchen and near the stove, actually, and I looked down and there was this beautiful little iridescent, shiny green lacewing fly-like creature. And it had the most beautiful wings you could see through, and they had fine little veins, and it had beautiful little antennas coming out of its head. And it was just sitting on the stove, on the edge of the stove. Now, I, like you and everyone else, I'm sure, if we're honest, I've had a war with insects and ants and cockroaches, and I've got the spray can out, and I must confess the mouse traps have been used at various times, and executions have occurred. But lately, because of the way things have been taught by Mr. Keshe, and even though I've known certain things for years, it's been very difficult to put them into practice. But there was this little lacewing, beautiful little lacewing, not aggressive, just sitting there looking. So I thought, I don't want to say it, but Trish, she's she doesn't like them in the house. And I thought, So I put my finger down near it, and it just walked onto my finger. Very, very beautiful, gentle little. I could feel it had some grip on its tiny little feet, so it was sort of holding on to my finger. And I took it to the back door, and like you, Rick, I just gently opened the door. It was nighttime, and I opened the door and I just let it go, but it wouldn't leave. I tried to flick it, but it held on. So I had to give it a really strong flick, and eventually it went off into the night. And like Libby was saying earlier, just before, I got the distinct impression that the universal community comes sometimes in these forms to observe us in a subtle kind of a way, not a huge, if they came in that form the size of an elephant, it'd probably be frightening. So they come in the form that isn't going to, we could kill it easily because we're big in that scale of things, and they're tiny. So they're using those sorts of things to observe how we are progressing in our attitudes. I really strongly think that's the case. And, what more can I say? I think it's, as you said, Rick, you don't know who you're meeting. You don't know who they are. We assume by just taking a look at physicality that they're this or they're that, or they're just a bum on the street, as you said, and Judd Barat is just an unwashed village idiot. But no, not necessarily. If you have the wisdom yourself, you can see the true potential in other people without profiling. That this person is a bum sleeping rough. We have a funny, I don't watch a lot of television, but there's a show, Filthy Rich and Homeless, that's being screened in Australia, where very rich people volunteer to go in and just become a bum on the street, just it's a sort of a reality type show. And they experience what other people, how other people treat them, when normally they've got their very expensive car and very expensive clothes, and they've got money, and they live a very luxurious life, but they see how the other half lives, if you like. So there's a sort of a consciousness change. From all of these little things that are going on, we can sort of see that we are becoming more sensitive, I think, anyway, than we were before, where we would just spit on and kick out of the way, as you said, move out. I'm on a mission. I'm important. My job as a traffic controller, I still see, unfortunately, a degree of arrogance. When people get in their big fancy car, they think they are the big fancy car, the expensive car, and they've got the suit and with all the gadgets and attachments, and they take on an arrogance because they identify with their physical possessions, including their body and their car and their clothes, and they don't want to be held up, even though you're building a road that they can drive on that's going to be safer. They don't care. They just they toot the horn, they wind their air-conditioned window down and scream at you, and you're standing out maybe in 40-degree heat just trying to do a job, and they say, why are you holding me up? I'm important. But you get other people that look impoverished, driving on an old banger that's blows a bit of smoke perhaps or whatever, and they're just happy. They'll just sit there and they wave when they get moved on. So it's just interesting, isn't it, how different people and creatures come into our lives, and now we're becoming more aware of this interaction that we're having. I think that's all for me now. Thank you, everyone, very much. It's middle of the night, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Doug. Well, maybe one more bug story I can tell while we're on the topic. Flint reminded me, he showed me a couple of pictures of beetles that might be similar to the bug that I saw, which they weren't. But the pictures that he showed were of a scarab type beetle. Most people know what that looks like, sort of like the Egyptian type scarab that you see in the pictures. I had about a year year and a half ago, perhaps, another beetle encounter and a bug encounter. This time with a beetle, it was like a scarab, a black scarab type bug. And this one, again, appeared right beside my keyboard and then decided to slowly meander underneath my keyboard. It has a raised kind of keyboard, and so it decided to hang out underneath the keyboard. I thought, okay, well, I better put this bug out. So after a while, I decided I better put him out. I put him on a piece of paper and carefully deposited him outside my window and, you know, off into the grass, basically. And wouldn't you know, a couple of hours later, the same bug came in and came right up to my keyboard and wanted to hang out underneath my keyboard again. And I just couldn't believe it, because the chances of the same bug coming back in were pretty much nil. I don't have very many bugs come in, even with an open window here. The birds tend to keep the bugs down, and it's not you know, a lot of bugs here. It's good that way. I like it. But in this case, the bug came back and hung out right by my keyboard again, and then decided to wanted to go underneath the keyboard and hang out there. So I just let him stay there, and I think he just naturally left the next day, I believe. I don't know where he went, but he was gone. So it's funny, and again, it was like the coincidence of that, and the sort of the shock of seeing this strange little bug beside, you know, right in my my workspace. Yeah, I don't know. It's just it affects one. It's amazing how a bug can affect your emotions. That's, I guess, the point there. It's interesting. Okay, I wonder, we have a microphone open. Is that time for Caroline to say something? Keep us on track here, maybe. Forget the bug world.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you for sharing all the stories. Does anyone else in the Universal Council or the Earth Council wants to come and share some of their view of positive change, or where they have applied the change, or where they can construct and support change? Is there anyone present, please?
Yes. Hello, here is Marie. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Marie from the Universal Council for the Norwegian language. I presented this list that I made of soul teachings from Mr. Keshe, as extracted from the public knowledge seekers workshops. Remember? I've been discussing in the Universal Council and told them my idea that because this list is kind of 10 minutes parts of the video. And I was thinking that we could use that to use it to get more people into the knowledge. And I was thinking to make a short kind of a summary of the, for instance, one part of this 10 minutes, a 10-minute video, and I make it a short summary. I make it first time in English, and then I would translate it to Norwegian. And other people can translate it to their native language. And so I will have this Norwegian text, and then the link to this video, which is the public video on YouTube. And all these videos are transcribed. So for instance, for a Norwegian, you can read the summary, and then he goes into YouTube, click on the link and go to YouTube and choose Norwegian language and get the subscription in Norwegian. And another thing I was thinking is to tag this post, because this will turn out as a post, for instance, on Facebook or Twitter or something. We could have some, agree upon some, you know, like hashtags. You know that? You can, it's like having a keyword list. So my suggestion is to make a hashtag called soul evolution. First, I was thinking soul revolution, but after this discussion with another knowledge seeker, we agreed that soul evolution is a better description of the content. And so I will have this hashtag soul evolution, and then I make a hashtag for my language. So it's hashtag Norwegian. And maybe a hashtag Universal Council, and maybe a hashtag Keshe Foundation. And by posting this on Facebook, this will make it easy later on to make, you can use these hashtags to search. So when you search on, for instance, Facebook, you can write soul evolution and Norwegian, and then you will get all these entries or these posts with the Norwegian description and the direct link into the content. So I think that's a way to make it easier to kind of post soul teachings out. So that is my idea. What do you think?
I like the idea of the soul evolution hashtag. That sounds like a really good one. We could put on lots of Twitter's tweets.
Yes, and another thing is that when we do it like this, if I make this list with all these soul or extracts from the public knowledge seekers workshops, and it's easy for instance, a language teacher to find soul content to put into their language teachings, for instance. Or if you're having a workshop and you want to play something, you can use that also. So it can be used for other teachers as well. And it's good for self-study. But it needs to be translated to different languages. But it will be like a short summary, and we will use we need to explain to people how to get the right language on the YouTube video, because you can choose among many languages there.
Right.
So that was one way to do it.
Okay, now to review, are you saying that you're going to make the 10-minute video, or is that the 10 minutes?
No, it's not. I don't make anything else than this list of kind of entries. So it's links. You showed that, I think, not last time, but the time before there. You showed this list is from, I started on the Knowledge Seekers Workshop 193. And it's, you can find it in the Universal Council Charter on page 11, I think. But this additional thing is like a short summary, which will tell in different languages what's in this part. So it makes it more interesting to go and research for themselves. That's my idea.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I can show it another time, but I'm not able to do that for the moment.
Yeah, I was just trying to bring it up here, but I got distracted a bit. Maybe we could have a look at that.
And you know, this list is made for a private class, but it's all public teachings. We have a private class called the Soul Focus Group on Mondays. And we are now reviewing Knowledge Seekers Workshop 206. So the list in the charter is not updated, but will very soon be. So it's
Okay.
a place to start it's easy way to learn about the soul in directly from the teachings of Mr. Keshe.
Okay, well, someone can find the link for that. I can't find it offhand here, but if someone can find the link that we can post it in the chat, that would be good.
Yeah, I'll look at that.
And we've got another hand up here. Jalal. Let's hear from Jalal. Hi, Jalal.
Hi, Rick. Hi, everyone. I would like to share with you something. It's about understanding. And because we are going in world peace, this is, I think, adding something to the subject. This information goes to two ways. One way who is never been a knowledge seeker, and the other one to the knowledge seekers. If you want to be in peace, you need to understand your needs. Let's say you feel hungry. Just now, you feel hungry. What you will do? You will go out to the supermarket, drive your car, put money. If you don't have money, you need to work to have money. And then you go to the supermarket, buy the food you want, go back, cook it. You see, it is so much energy put in that one, only to have energy from food. And in the end, you will get only 20% from this food. So you see how much energy you put for collecting only 20% from this. And if you concentrate all this energy to feed yourself, you see where I'm going. If you put all this energy, what you done to feed yourself only for a short period of time, 3, 4, 5 hours or 6 hours or one day, all this energy to feed you only one day, and you get only 20% from it. If you put this energy in the right way, you know how much time it will feed you without actually physicality? If you are not a knowledge seeker and you don't know anything about the fields and the plasma and the gases, you see how much it takes from your energy. For something, you can understand it. And when you are a knowledge seeker, it takes you about 10% from this energy, because you have the gases and you have the liquid plasma. You can feed yourself. But there is one more, and this is the field. Let me tell you something, maybe you will understand. Now we are using this device to connect with each other. One in Australia, one in America, one in Sweden, one in India. You see, we are connecting the whole world with a device that human built. Do you understand? When you use the other device, which the creator built, which power you have? It's only need to think about it. And when you think about it, you demand it. And when you demand it, you fulfill your wish. It goes in the opposite direction. You wish to connect, and then you demand that connection. You have it, you do it every second. But the way do not happen because you have a lot of needs. Every second you have a lot to wish. So you have a million of orders in a day. Impossibility to focus your thought in one way. And when you learn focusing for a period, only short time, and then you don't need to focus because you get and you understand that you take only what you need. And don't forget one thing. In Mr. Cash teaching, he said, you are the creator for the conditions. But here on Earth, but in space, you are the creator, your own world. Which level you are in this level. You connect it to this level and you create your own world. Which world you want to be in. You need to live really, really in peace. You understand your needs. And this needs is only energy. Only energies, whatever you want, only energies. And if you go to apply it, you spend too much energy to bring physicality, and that you don't need. I think I showed my point in that. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Jalal. Always good to hear from you. Anybody else like to go ahead? I have a couple of questions in the live stream. One is regarding, Waldemir asks, can we read the PDF version of the 3 Mr. Keshe's books on a donation basis? Excuse me. to reach 7 billion people as soon as possible, such as through crowdfunding. He mentions $1 per person times 7 billion people, for example, and gives a couple places where crowdfunding can occur, apparently, and so on. So I think Flint gave an answer to that, which was, I can't find it offhand, maybe.
Yeah, the 3 books will be out soon on Amazon for purchase in print format or in Kindle.
Right. So it won't be as a PDF exactly, but it's a
Kindle. Kindle will be the closest way, and there's Kindle apps on any device.
Right, and it's
you don't have to have a Kindle. You can get a Kindle app for your phone and download it there.
Right, and that's available in every country, I believe, too. So.
Yep.
Okay, and is there any outlook on the price for the Kindle, or for the, has that been established yet, or no?
No, not established yet. I don't know.
Okay.
But hopefully
it's found to be less than the physicality book, I'm presuming. So.
Yeah, the Kindle will be less, of course. That's the normal pricing model for Amazon.
Right.
And yeah, hopefully next 2 or 3 weeks or so. I don't know. Be soon though.
Very good. Thanks for that announcement. And let me see, I've got the big question is in live stream here, and maybe Caroline will be able to give us some information about that, is about the space lift. Plasma says in the live stream, we saw information in the 16th of July 2018 about space lift and the traffic test in China. Question, will we see in the Knowledge Seekers workshops coming up on Thursday the 19th of July a film or photo of this test? And maybe Caroline can give us a little bit of information about what's happening without giving out anything that she can't, which I'm sure
Yes. I can feel you coming on your socks. The whole beauty is that Mr. Keshe has created this message. It's gone everywhere. Absolutely gorgeous responses. And the funny thing is that people are showing it. So it is amazing how many people have been working on these star formations, and they're proud to be part of this beauty. It doesn't matter how they have achieved it and how many hours and how many studying and understanding came to play with this. It is absolutely an gigantic beauty presentation of all your systems. We cannot thank you enough. We are getting so many positive people responding to it, and then start asking questions and start asking guidance. So the ones which are showing actually are getting really busy to start supporting the ones which are maybe halfway or in the starting process. So it's absolutely an amazing journey. The beautiful thing is, if you remember, I don't know how long to go back to, but we said, if you pour the ganses in the waters, and if you plug your magraphs in, you create that field. It came back in Tom Salas' presentation of Dominica. We have kept on referring back to it because it is amazing what and how beautiful and simple it is. what you can do. Mr. Keshe has explained in his Thursday morning teachings that he doesn't have the green light yet to go public. There's a lot of work getting done in the background. They have beautiful results so far. That's the only information I can give you, because it depends on the time and the maturity, as Mr. Keshe said, with the other steps which are about to come when the first bird starts flying out of the nest, that the universal community will come and be in whatever shape or form they will appear, to bring their beauty in association, because then the process starts. He says, he told 2-3 presentations ago, he said, the time has already been appointed. So that's the time of the meeting. It will be respected. If it's not there today or yesterday or tomorrow, it means the field strength, if we all understand the language and what Mr. Keshe has been teaching, has to reach its maturity. So work through your micrographs. You are adding the same field strength. Work through your Gans waters. Work through your paint pens. Whatever you have, or teach, or create, or work with, or give. Understand the message which was in that, which was getting posted around, in full support for the Chinese system to go and do and be. It must be that the knowledge seekers are working towards that target, because there are a lot of changes happening there, and they're working day and night. They barely have any rest. Poor people. They're really, really working hard. So Mr. Keshe is observer, he's guiding, but as we all know, we have to accumulate sufficient enough field strength for Dan to become in that maturity that it can materialize. So it will become in view when the time is right. The only gift we can give is to all and towards and to respond to the call up to Mr. Keshe. It's a hard job. It's a big responsibility. It's going to be absolutely amazing and beautiful. It just needs that little bit more time. That's why he called it in, for the maturity to go faster. I am present in the wish of Mr. Keshe.
I am present.
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 My soul is always present.
I am present.
I am present.
I am present.
Because we all know, we are more than aware what the main target is through the flight system. You're all becoming lights. You're all starting to shine. And it's that field strength which is going to go towards all the star formations, not only China. And the one target is world peace. Because if you remember, when we used to speak, when we were running the tests in Belgium, that I was trying to cover each inch of window, or that any light could pass. I was trying to tape it off with black tape, or to put something to cover that it would not escape, because You can't stop this kind of light. It is so bright. It's so beautiful. It will escape on any shape and form wherever it can. And I had to do it because our neighbors were asking, what the heck is going on? All this light, bright light in the middle of the night. We were not so much, you know, because we knew what we were doing. But then Mr. Keshe said, I think it's better to cover as much as we can that the light cannot escape. So it cannot be hidden. This is one thing in the message I would love for you to understand. It will shine like a bright light beyond imagination. It is growing, it's maturing to become what it's meant to be, what they've been working so hard for. And if we go on soul level, it's through the giving from our soul that we are increasing the field strength through our star formations. And whatever you have created and your part, even just being simply a knowledge seeker as a student, not even having produced any Gans water, you are a walking maggraph. You are a walking shining light. You add to the totality for this beauty to reveal itself. So don't worry when they say, you know, okay, until today, you know, you can't go live, it cannot be broadcast. There is a reason for it. But on the other hand, it cannot be hidden. The light is so beautiful. When you have once seen it, it is very difficult to put it in words. It's a different way of what we are used to as light. And the beautiful thing is that at the same time, please observe your own star formations. They will start interacting with each one of you. Observe, maybe put recording on it, because then you have a testimony from the minute you started and you responded to Mr. Keshe's request. And then when the progress is coming and the maturity is coming, then you will see what will happen to your star formations. It is a beautiful journey to a point of maturity so that we were all manifested in the matter state, although it will be still on soul level 2. So I thank all of you, and always keep the mind of the dome of the Oasis system from Tom Salas. You are connecting. Give it time, a lot of patience, and a lot of love and care. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Caroline, for that update. Lots of people will have questions about that, and I think that's the best answer we can give at this point in time. And I'm sure we'll hear lots more from Mr. Keshe on Thursday regarding the whole issue.
Yep. I can only encourage all the knowledge seekers to be present and then see how we evolve and how it progresses. And then Mr. Keshe, I think it's more than respectful to be and to allow him to be the messenger in what and how and where and when. We can only work towards it, towards the target of world peace.
And we have a big event that took place this week, which was the getting together of the President Trump with Putin of Russia. And that was quite interesting, I thought. And that's got the whole world in kerfuffle, and especially in the U.S. And there's a lot of the people of Mr. Trump's party think that he has gone through this treasonous liaison with Putin and so on and so forth. And I think it's just hilarious because of all the just all the upset that Trump has caused. Initially, I wasn't very much in favor of Mr. Trump, but I appreciate his disruptiveness because it's got people paying attention to what their actual attitudes and policies and so on are, and it's putting them all in the light. And in the context of world peace, if you look at that as the ultimate end game of all these interactions, then it makes many of the actions of, say, some of the politicians, particularly in some of the areas of the United States where they're very much focused on their local area and getting the benefits for their farmers or manufacturers or whatever, at the expense of, they don't care if there's wars breaking out around the world due to their actions, or if there's bad deals going on and kind of sleazy things happen. None of that really matters as long as they get what they want for their voters, basically, so that they can be voted in next time. And these things are coming to light now, and they're starting to look a little silly on the world stage. And here Mr. Trump has gone in and directly talked to Putin, which was against sort of the rules that his party, they didn't want him to directly interact with Mr. Putin. They want to make sure there's a layering of bureaucracy in between. But it seems like maybe this is a new way to interact with politicians, is they actually go in and talk one-to-one and actually talk about the issues rather than allowing all the preset ideas and preset ways of the current politicians and bureaucracy behind them to lead the way. And I find it rather refreshing, actually. It's kind of scary in a way too, because then individuals are making decisions based on their personal relationships with the other leaders of the world and that kind of thing. But maybe that's what's been a bit missing, is the personal relationships. Maybe maybe they're finding a more of a soul-to-soul connection somehow, and maybe they can find a way to get to that world peace through being the big guys in the world with all the nuclear weapons and all the other technologies at their fingertips to be able to control and so on. Maybe they can find a way to get along so that we can have peace in the world, and maybe that can make the difference. So it's encouraging, I find, that at least they're talking and not yelling. They're not throwing bombs at each other, at least not yet. So I see progress that way, and it's very encouraging. So another thing that's come up recently, while I'm talking about news items, is that there's a news item that the Chinese army is forming an army to plant trees. They're turning in their guns for hose and are going to plant, I think it's 25,000 square miles of land with trees. Like, we're talking about probably in the tens to hundreds of millions of trees. And And this is pretty amazing because China isn't known for their tree planting, projects and so on. But yet it turns out that due to their actions now, they're actually planting with trees more of their land area than the United States is right now. So that's interesting. Okay, so do we have here any more questions, comments? Anybody can put their hand up, or if you're a panelist, you can go ahead and open your microphone and speak if you'd like. Okay. Caroline, back to you, I guess.
I got ready.
There's a link that was in the
chat.
Chat for the live stream that Flint has noted for me, and it's an older article actually.
It's from 2014.
Yes, that's right. It's like 4 years ago. I thought it was a new article. Is
there any other Universal Council or Earth Council member who would like to bring a view or an opinion or share their work with us today, please? Is Ursula present? Oh, yes, she is. Ursula, are you ready with your presentation already, or you want to present it next week? You're ready today?
Yes, I did it last week, but I can repeat it. And I was...
Have you expanded on the portfolio, what you were showing last time?
No, I have not, because I'm changing my computer and then some troubles, but I will do. What I wanted to say also, it was very beautiful last Sunday, midnight here, and Latin America.
You want to know where she is? She went down.
Sorry?
I'm sorry. I forgot to.
Go ahead.
I was saying that it was very beautiful last Sunday here in France. Was midnight and was earlier in many countries in Latin America, and we were all ready listening and listening our soul, and many applying to know something about what is happening, if it's something to share, and they understood that they must run their star formations and be within with the soul and supporting China. So they wanted to see something or hear something, but they understood that they must go inside and work with their soul. Now we are working on one planet, and it's a beautiful work, the first work all together. And we were all very happy to participate and to share this common soul work all together in one planet. This was a very beautiful experience. We want to know something about this soon, so we are all waiting about feedback about what was happening. And for the presentation, I wanted to do with my Spanish, because I am Universal Council Spanish language. There are 23 countries. It was very beautiful to see how everybody is striving and learning and applying. We are much more now than last week, and everybody is sharing and studying and asking and answering. And we have more teachers now also in the workshops teaching. And it's very, all these troubles who has been in the past are now stabilizing, and we are working better. And many are coming in, many was fall out, and we are now more teachers applying and almost understanding the ethos of the universe, because many of them has been working on materials and devices. It was very beautiful. And now they understand slowly that all these devices are working with the soul. So it changed very much for much of them, and they're understanding, and they are more conscious of all this soul work. It's the most important one. And whatever they have, ganses or magraves or star formation or only a paint pad or whatever, but they know they are now working with them, with their soul and with their intentions. And this is a big progress for all of them. There was almost focused on the techniques and not on the soul almost. So there are many applying now with this soul intention, and it is very beautiful to see. Understanding the new paradigm, finding their position in unity. They are more advised to reach universal community because they understand much more clearly now what is happening. And they are almost all good backgrounds from spirituality and from many other kind of knowledge. And they start to understand the totality. And this is very important because they're all good, all teachings, all intentions, all teachers. There are so many around the world who give good information about so many topics, and it's all a part of the totality, so it's not wrong. And for me, Keshe Foundation is the highest school I ever got, because it's not to forget all what we know before. It's only to integrate more and be more in the totality. And this is the beautiful of this knowledge. With all the languages, with all the ethos from everywhere, from every land, from every country, from every mother and father, and all what we have been learning from the childhood. And this makes what we are today. This makes us knowing better ourselves. Because when we know ourselves really and deeply, we can understand everybody. And it hurts anymore because we progress in highness, in wisdom, and in peace. And this peace will make that the whole world will be in peace very soon. I feel it really, and I feel it in my heart. I know it will come very, very soon. Sooner that we can think about, because nobody says know exactly what will happen. But we feel that something beautiful will happen for each of us, and we will be better and better every day. Because when we know ourselves, when we are in peace, we irradiate peace. And it's like virus, it's beautiful virus going and meeting other peaceful beings and to grow our family. We are creating many topics slowly in agriculture, gardening, and I'm contacting them to all these teachers who are showing all these good teachings, and at the same time to invite them to private teachings and almost teaching and sharing and translating. And I want to give a very, very big thank you to Jeanette Orozco, because she do such a beautiful work with all this translation and transcriptions. There are 2 persons now supporting her. John is supervisor. He is studying from the beginning in the privates, you know him. Okay, it's growing. And when we think about how much we have changed, myself, I'm not the same person from 2 years ago. Nothing, everything has changed in my life. I even will move now, and I know so many people are thriving and moving and doing other things, and it's very, very beautiful to see all these changes all around the world. I'm living in France, so I can observe also what is happening. It's thriving also. Beautiful teachers are coming up and sharing. So it's going right on the good direction. For me, my understanding, I'm very pleased to communicate and to share. And I know we will have more tools to give to the people who are just arriving, because we are so far now that we should make some teaching for those who are just arriving, because sometimes they are lost, and I can understand this, because when we are learning as so much as from us 2.5 years ago, and so many also 5 years ago, I heard about the Keshe Foundation 6 years ago, but I never understand many things about these techniques with the Coca-Cola bottle and all this. And then when the teaching started, even with kid teachings, it was so beautiful, amazing. And once we can come in, we cannot go out, because it sucks us in the knowledge and in the changing of being, of our elevation, so we can elevate others. When we understand this technology, but I mean the soul work, we can only progress and elevate, and this is very beautiful. We will organize also advertising for explaining very, very slowly and very simply what it's about. It's about being, about soul, about love. It's not very difficult. And there are also many applying for distributors, and Wiki Spanish is in progress. We need to adjust many things, but it's growing. That is very, very beautiful to see. It's really a life change, so much for all of us. And I'm so thankful for all we are receiving and all what we can share and give to others. Because when we have this ethos, universal ethos, it's a pleasure to give, and this makes us change in our life and change also the life of others. And this is very, so grateful. Thank you very much. If someone wants to know about the Spanish group, I can invite them. They can only apply on our page and work together, because it's now we are in languages, but the idea is to mix our languages to a universal language. It's one and a unique one, and we are coming there. Thank you very much.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ursula.
With sometimes we'll make also a nice PowerPoint as Pete makes, but we are organized with all this and will come out so that we can give it also to all new one Spanish who are coming in so fast now, and do a good work all together with all the languages. So those who can share can give it to others, and we can give it to others and share it very fast, because now I think they are ready, much more ready than 2 years ago. And it's beautiful to see. Thank you.
Okay, and Rick mentions I have a new word in Spanish. Graciamos. Is that the pronunciation, Ursula?
Graciamos, we thank. This kind of thankfulness.
Exactly. Okay. Graciamos, Ursula.
It's a pleasure for me to give, and we are here to serve more and more. And more we give, more we receive, and it works. Really, it works.
Thanks for your report. Frederic mentions that she may be presenting something next week, I believe, on education and sharing the knowledge. Okay, thank you for that, Frederic. I think that would be appropriate. Is there anyone else from Universal Council or Earth Council or some other council that we don't know of that may like to speak at this time? Okay, I'm just looking at our various chats and looking for questions here.
You want any assistance, Rick?
You have it pretty much covered. Sure. You mentioned that you might have to leave soon, Caroline. So how's that going, and how should we proceed here?
Yes, I'm gonna be leaving or aboard you a bit earlier, so I will inform you when the time is right. We do call up on the Universal Council members and the Earth Council and the core team members to come and bring with what Mr. Keshe has brought in his presentations. What is your point of understanding, and how can we integrate all this work into our immediate surroundings, not one-to-one, but how can we start observing our communities? Can we start making database on how you can improve what you witness or have experienced or are experiencing what is out of place? Not so much to know what is out of place, but where do you see the point of interaction with that problem and bring the change? Say it through dialogue, say it through introduction, say it through teaching, say it through applying of the science and the knowledge. How would you see your path to start walking through this kind of window of you observing, but knowing that you got such a beautiful, I don't know, how do you call a palette where all your little paints are plastered onto before you start a painting, Rick? What is it called?
I think it's a palette, isn't it?
Is it palette? Did I use the right word? Before you start dipping with your pencil in the different colors?
The palette of paint, where you have all your paint, different colors on the palette, I believe is the way it goes.
Yes, yes. So imagine that you're the painter and you got all the colors at your disposition and all the ingredients and all the knowledge where you can go and find where that topic will be able to be integrated in what you are observing that you want to bring the change. If you always remember that you're the point of you're creating that difference, you visualize where you can make the difference. And then it's simply about acknowledging your palette with all your colors, all your knowledge, and all your gifts, and start changing what is no longer or should no longer be to serve a higher purpose. And if we go to the serving of the soul, then we all know that that can only take place when we are working towards it before even speaking a single word. By creating it in our mind, giving it shape, giving it form, giving it direction the way we want to implement it. Because that's a point that you do not get distracted on a day-to-day basis of and interaction with people around you and your environment. And the fact that you're in a kind of condition which is sometimes repetitive, sometimes not. These are going to a higher reach, which then you can make time for it and plan it out and work it out because you bumped into it 2 days ago or 3 days ago. Those are usually the first signs you're coming across a gift. Don't look at it as a problem, but consider it, if it doesn't pass me, then it means it doesn't exist. But if I take notice and I recognize it, and as a knowledge seeker, you can take the time and sit down, because it's not just something passing in a day-to-day life, but it just comes really nice in front of you. Then it's time to use your palette with all your colors and being a knowledge seeker, knowing that you can adjust or recreate whatever crossed your path. If it is in the community, if it is in a nearby, if it is visiting a hospital, if it's seeing a crisis somewhere, you know that you carry all the gifts to make that difference. Please bring it back to this platform so Rick can share it and bring it forward. And I do thank you, Mark House, for what you shared. Because most probably a lot of you knowledge seekers have already walked that path. Don't be afraid to be different. Don't hesitate to be different, because you know that you stand in the beauty for what you're going for. Not to harm, not to hurt. And that's the beauty in itself. Yes, Rick?
Well, I just wanted to mention that in the chat and live stream, CA brought up earlier, before he even started this topic, and said the question from last week from Miss Caroline was, what would you do with $500,000? And CA says, I would create small villages with this technology. And he gives a link. It's something about building adobe houses and water management. And he would do that as a demonstration village, and study exchange lab for everyone who wants to participate from anywhere in the world. And he says with 20 to 30 people, we could build a place like the Baha'i have, but with organic products even better. And he says not the Hollywood style buildings like the Baha'i have. And so due to that suggestion, he's obtained this vision that he would like to, he or she, I'm not sure who it is actually, would like to get established in the world, to manifest, and has a plan how that could be done, can see how that could happen with a number of people getting together and so on. So I think that might be sort of an example of what you're talking about. It's funny that Zane also had put in the chat 3D printers with our materials. We make self-sustaining homes. So it seems like for at least two people out there, the idea of homes and building a sustainable structure seems to be important to them as part of creating in the future. And it seems to be not just on the physicality basis, which, a home is generally looked at as a physical kind of structure, but like CA is mentioning, this is a place, it's just a demonstration. It's a place where you can exchange ideas and study how things are done and learn and teach others and so on. So it's not just the idea of making a house for oneself, let's say, and that's it, but the idea of creating structures for others to be able to survive in an elegant kind of way, in a decent kind of way. So maybe eventually, instead of the physicality structures, the same people may be talking about building the protective dome, as in the Tom Salis example, or other ideas like that, which can all be like in the even with the Tom Salis example, if you look at his mother's home that I believe Tom built that, it's made out of adobe with, very solid construction and consideration about the management of the area around it. I'm sure they incorporated water management into the whole idea and so on. So that's part of it. The physicality part is part of it. And then the ideas and the emotion behind it is another aspect. The idea of being a creator works into this. So you can take it at many different levels. There's Peggy as well. She mentions in the chat, I am with them too. I'm still looking for ways to create the Keshe Foundation Preserve and Visitor Center. That was mentioned in the 13th, One Nation, One Planet, One Race. So there are actually many people out there that have this idea of creating communities, villages and communities for people to get together to interact. And it's more than basic survival. It is about the interaction and about the elevation of the soul that is behind the intention of these people. And I notice no one has mentioned just the pure idea of making money out of this either. So the profit the perspective is somehow missing out of our equation here. So that may be important in some circumstances, but generally it seems to get put to the bottom of the list as far as the wishes that we have. Okay, anyone else got a hand up here? Dean, I thought you might want to talk, Dean. You have some things about...
Oh, you had me just when you say that, laugh out loud. You said you thought I might want to talk.
Yes.
When you said $500,000, I guess I missed a part of that. Oh, by the way, sometimes I get excited and I forget to say, how are you doing? I've been listening for a while. Blessing, peace, grace, mercy, and creation according to desire. $500,000. Okay, I've thought about that for a long time. And as soon as it's in my hand, okay, I have the piece of equipment, have the knowledge, have the substrate to process, and we immediately start doing bioremediation and food and production of new materials out of biological substrate as we increase the ability of the plant world to produce beautiful abundance for us with the minerals unlocked from the soil so that we as well as they as we transition thrive. Anyway, that's just all I wanted to say is, see, my wish is with yours. And I've been part of the fringe of this because I've been working, right? And just to know that my wish is combined with your wish and that we together, our souls, elevating each other, I understand a lot. And I just love to see that we are manifesting peace. And then from peace, we have an opportunity to plant. And in planting, we get to see the ways, not the laws of nature, but the ways of nature manifest in our physicality for joy of being carnate. And with that, if there are any questions, otherwise, I'll just say peace be with everybody. And I'm going to go back to dismantling a window and rebuilding it. I'm working on a almost 100-year-old house that I'm 5th generation in. It's in very good shape. But I'm looking forward to being able to put our mark on infrastructures that last for hundreds of years so that our children and our children's children don't have to be involved in the taking up of their lives for basic necessities when they and we and I should have the ability to ask of creation and our soul, what can I manifest today? And how can we walk in peace together? Peace, guys. Love you. And thanks.
Yep. Thank you very much. The whole question that came on the table with that 500,000 was for people to realize that when you get this question asked, then you see how your journey starts with just this simple question and where it can take you and how you're going to explore every different way, and you're going to be amazed what will come to your mind. But that's the whole beauty why I asked this kind of question, because you become that instant a creator, because your mind starts analyzing, your mind starts thinking about things. When you stand still, just before the question, your mind wasn't even there. Your mind was not considering all these options coming to your availability the moment I finished my line. And this is exactly where I wanted to go back to the point of Mr. Keshe. He says, and he emphasizes and he stimulates people, create. Create, then you set it in motion. Then it will become available for you to carry out your wishes. And this is how simple it works. Don't make it complicated. It is a very logical way of walking you through why and how you can become such a beautiful creator. And the tools are so simple. And unfortunately, really, unfortunately, I had to use the word money. Because in our world today, in the physicality, that's the currency for so-called creating, having, acquiring, being able to do. No, it's not. That was my whole point with, if I ask you, if I give you 500,000, or even if I give you 1 million, your way of thinking, and it will be available, I add that to it, I said it will be available, let's say, next month on the 1st of the month. What are you going to do with it? It just kickstarts your whole way of just walk the path what your brain is doing. It is analyzing everything. But at the same time, now you can stand still because you're a knowledge seeker. You become a creator. Now, if I would add to that question and you kickstart that imaginary, which is not, but we use that word, you start wandering off, but you actually start creating because your mind is going in different direction, in different sections of what you can achieve. Why not putting the question, what can I create today? Do I have to have that million or that 500,000 to kickstart me in the understanding that I am a creator? This was in one of my first teachings when I said, you are applying all the gifts, but you're not aware how you're using them and where you are applying them because they are so natural and nobody has actually walked you back to understand actually you're creating, you're generating every single minute, every single moment that you think, you speak, and you do. That's your point of creating. But when I put it I tried to put it in a picture with 500,000 and 1 million, I can even go to 5 million and 10 million. I can even make you like a lottery winner. Now you see how your proportions of what you have received as a question or an idea or an option, how you start creating around it. That was the main idea I was trying to open up like a flower, because it's much easier to walk on those pebbles because you understand the process and you can work with it intentionally. And it can take you to any direction you want, the same freedom as if I would have put, let's say, the 500,000 or the 1 million or whatever on the table. That's the whole beauty of it. Because if you still haven't gotten it yet, if I start talking and whispering into my 16-year-old or 17-year-old, what kind of car would you like to have for your birthday? Because I'm willing and thinking about donating or giving you a car for your birthday present. When you in the States become 16, in Europe it's 18. Can you follow the pattern of thoughts, how that boy will start imagining the color, the type, the engine, the fuel consumption, the places he can go? He will start going visiting showrooms. He will start opening books of cars. He will start talking about it with his friends. So he is the minute you asked him the same question as I asked about this, but now about the car, he starts creating and it will appear. And most probably because he's going to be, if he is involved in that kind of way of enthusiasm, he most probably will be able to make and bring that the car of what he desires will appear in front of him. Although it came through the promise of the parents or the father or the mother or any other family member who wants to support the boy with a car. So it's the journey I want to take you through in analyzing how fast you generate the physical world around you. And if you're aware of that, you don't even need to go through the physical steps. Now you can imagine what you can create in the non-physical, and at the same time with the understanding of the soul on the soul level, how you can even increase that. Because the funny thing is, when you analyze it, and I'm asking you 500,000 or 1 million, nobody says or nobody thinks about how will I increase that 1 million? Or how will I increase that 500, although it's not even there yet. So this takes you through a totally different avenue of analyzing your potential. Why stay with 500,000? Why stay with 1 million? Why even accepting the feed of thoughts, let's say 500,000? If I know through being a knowledge seeker that I can, no, I'm going to make that decision. I do appreciate, but I'm going to go and aim for, let's say, 20 million. Because if I know I have no limit, why should I put even a limit on 500? So that's the point of creating. The awareness that you have the freedom, you're unlimited. And it's when walking through these kind of ideas that you open more doors to your capability. You don't need to think because it's been mentioned or it's been put on the table. You can go into without borders, I call it. What do you think, Rick?
Yep, that sounds about right to me. Just looking at the comments here, there's anyways, anyone else have some input on what Caroline said or something else that may have come up inspired by that? Let me see, Mark House put a article in it's just about Jeff of Amazon. He's CEO of Amazon. He's worth $150 billion, supposedly. So what does that, is that what we call success? Is that $150 billion man? Is that the pinnacle of human greatness? Or is that bum on the street with maybe a feeling of gratitude might be equivalent? Okay, well, I'm not getting a lot of response here right now, Caroline. So
Yeah.
maybe pondering your words. There's Mashak.
Somebody.
Yes, maybe there is another way of thinking about this. However $1 million it may be, we can, whatever the, we are reaching all kinds of people everywhere. Now, in this meeting, there are several people here. So each of us, if we wish that all the people that are listening here would have those, whatever the resources may be, in reaching these people, and we elevate everybody that's in this meeting towards that direction so that they will be able to achieve this. So here, each of us, if we do it to all the people that are listening to this meeting, this is in a way what Mr. Keshe talks about the scale. It's not a multiplicative scale, it's a different scale where plasma increases exponentially every time it's given. So if we all in this meeting give to each other, and perhaps some of our friends that are not even here, but in spirit they're here. So if we add all those people together and elevate them towards achieving this goal of reaching people locally or around us, no matter what the physical or emotional situation may arise, which in due course will adjust itself as long as the intention stays at the soul level. So if we do this, there is a big factor that comes into play in being able to affect it, because we are all elevating everyone that's involved. Virtually present in this meeting through electronics or otherwise, or at the soul level. So in that sense, they have a lot more than that whoever Amazon guy was than he has. So in that sense, and it's a field strength much higher than any physical level that we can summon up. And in that way, if we can keep this going, we reach things in a much more effective and powerful way. And that's just a thought that happened to me to come into my mind as I was listening to Carolina. So thank you very much, and that's all I have to share.
Okay, thanks, Mashak. Well, Caroline, we're coming up on the 3-hour mark here. Do you think we should wrap things up for today, or do you want to carry on here?
I think it will be a nice closure and a lot of constructive way of wondering in what can you be and where can you be and how can you be, and not to be with limits, not to be with figures, not to attach yourself to what if, but be it. I thank you, team. I thank everybody. We will receive a lot of new information on Thursday morning. I wish you all the best, Rick, tomorrow with your public teaching. It's a very busy class that you're running, Rick.
Well, we have some great input with some regulars there, and always full of surprises as well. So yes, that's the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group, which is 7 a.m. Central European Time on Wednesday, which is 10 o'clock Pacific Time on Tuesday, 10 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday, which is today for me.
It would be nice, Rick, if you could maybe have a feeling through this presentation how many star formations are actually up and running. If people could come and share it with you, it would be a nice way to find out.
Okay, well, that's an interesting idea. Let's try to make it star formation night. And
yeah, why not?
People can either, if you can send in a picture of your setup or a short video with no background music, that you could send it to me directly in the various media, social media sites, or through my email that most people know, or through Webmaster if you need to, at Keshe Foundation. A short video or just a picture, and it doesn't have to be a fancy rotating star formation necessarily. It might be a small sort of altar type thing that you have set up with some spheres, or maybe you create your own starship formation with your hands or something like that. Otherwise, anything that rotates is fine as well. And if you bring what you have, and let's see some images and try to put them all together in this plasma reactor group. And we'll focus on that, see how many we can come up with.
Yeah, it would be nice, Rick, to maybe bear in mind that maybe we can share some of the work on Thursday morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, team. Did you hear me?
Yes. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And thanks to everybody who shared today, from the Universal Council and others. And yes, another great workshop teaching here on the 47th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace. That's Tuesday, July 17th, 2018. Okay, if there's nothing else that anyone really must say, then we'll wrap up for now. Going once, going twice. Sold. Okay, thanks everybody, and I think Flint will take us out with some videos here.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Plasma products found at keshefoundation.org/store. Soothing, reusable plasma eye and migraine mask. Eliminate eye fatigue and relieve stress in eye area. European certified medical device. Massaging plasma insoles. Bring comfort back to your feet and energize your legs. European CE certified medical device. Antiseptic plasma liquid hand soap. Promotes well-being and relaxation with protective plasma formula. CE certified. One Soul Plasma T-shirt. GAN's formula within the symbols and stripes brings mind, soul, and body into balance. European certified. Pain Relief Pen. Emits a concentrated plasma field at point of pain, efficient up to 3 centimeters below the skin. CE certified. The Magrav's Energizer and Alkalizer raises pH and energizes water through magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Pain Relief Pad, a result of years of research in nanoplasma technology with magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. visit the online store at keshefoundation.org/store or find a distributor near you. Tax and shipping not included.
The process of understanding is very simple. The process is, as I explained last time, I explained more in detail. We are created out of the rays within the center of the universe. In interaction and reduction in strength and division by the strength in certain strength fields, in collection of the totality of the expansion of the universe, some energies, some dynamic fields have come together. Over billions of years, these fields lead to the creation of what we call the sun. Where the plasma gathers together. The same process repeats again because the sun is the same as the energy center of the universe. Now, the heavier, the larger amount of the energy which is collected in this span of the universe, called the sun, that irradiates out, does the same thing again. Radiates its fields out, and in interaction with the itself, with the fields of itself, leads to creation of planet. In that process of the creation of planet, the same process happens again. In the interaction of the fields of the earth with its environment and cooling and exchange with the strength of the other things in the environment of the space of the solar system, leads to creation of man, cell, matter state. And that itself, in coming together and slowing down in certain ways, as we call, leads to another sun. We call the soul of the man. This is the truth about the life and creation of the man. But if the soul of the man can understand and absorb and be correct with his conduct, he can become the strength of the fields and carry the strength of the field of the planet which came to his creation. And if the soul can understand with the same process, can interact, can be correct, can absorb with itself the totality of the strength of what it needs, he shall become the sun. And then the same soul has the energy that it can absorb within the solar system, within the galaxy, shall become the center of the universe. Earth, we call it the rain, come from and goes back to. solar system, we call it planetary system. We come from the rays, we become the planet, and we go back to the mother. The same thing happens with the galaxies, with the solar systems, which they get absorbed back in and they chewed up back into the universe. The life, the process of existence in the universe is the same. It doesn't matter what exchange and what extent. So, what is the man fighting for? Why do we fight for something which has come from the point of the creation, and in the process it goes back to the creation? The soul of the man as the energy of the earth gives the face of the man, the face of the earth, and that process is the same for the soul of the man. Our soul, in reduction in strength, in interaction with the emotion of the field of the environment, leads to manifestation of the existence of the man. But once it's completed, does it need the face? Or can it be and becomes free from it, what we call the soul of the man, be free and detached from its existence? Our soul is part of the process of the creation. The key to one question, who man shall be in the future, to be answered. As we saw the sun became the earth, and as we saw the earth became man's soul, what will be the destiny of the soul of the man now becomes free at the point of departure from physicality. Would it become the sun for creation of another life, or many lives, or correction of lives? This shall be, and this is how it happens. When you create a soul which is not correct, which is misconduct by itself, cannot give, you lead to the creation of this next cycle of creation, which has started the wrong way, the wrong strength. This is one thing the man has never understood. You become the creator of another universe, another cycle. And this is what you have to judge within the structure of the soul of the man. What would I like that cycle to be? In the physical life, we create children. In the dimension of the life of the soul of the man, what that soul will create. If man has thought up to now, that's it, my end, my point, when I die is finished, there's as much fallacy that when the sun is destroyed in any shape or form, there shall be nothing left. But we know the part of the sun becomes part of the galaxy and becomes part of new life. So shall be the soul of the man. The judgment of the man has to be according to what he sees the future his soul can conduct to be. The day of judgment is for the man, not in front of the Creator. That what my soul judges to be and what shall create. Man never understood and shall never understand till can solve this dilemma within itself. The reality is very, very, very real. And that is, as we've seen, the energy of the galaxy become the sun, the energy of the sun has become the earth, and the energy of the earth has become the soul of the man. So shall be the soul of the man, which is the energy itself, another cycle of life. How can you change when you don't understand? How can you change the process of understanding if you do not understand the process of the creation? Do we need to extend the understanding of the man that what is the future he brings? We care about our children, what education they get, what they wear, how happy they'll be, where they sleep. Now the man has to be careful and consider, what life shall my soul create? Because those are the children of your soul. As we see, the rays of the sun has become a planet and 7 billion children of it. 7 billion unlimited, which is growing. So the soul of the man will go through the same process. How many billions and subdivisions and sub-matter state of the physicality of the man your soul shall create? Would it be the soul of wars and conflict and forever killing? Or would it be the soul of this, let's say, solar system, which is peaceful? This is the truth and the reality about the soul of the man. First of all, as I said many times recently, we never understood that the soul of the man is within the structure of the man. And now that we understood, we understand on departure from the physicality of the man, the same process will carry on as it did for a star, a planet. And the soul of the man becomes another energy source, a higher order, which itself leads to the creation. It becomes the star, it becomes the center of the new cycle of creation. This is what the human race has to understand. The cycle actually starts from the point of death and not finishes at the point of death. In so many ways, if one understands, is as the dusts, specks of dust came together to make the earth in the solar system, so has the specks of the atoms has come to be the creator of the man. And the essence of the creation of the specks of dust on the solar system has led to the creation of man. So shall be the fields from the soul of the man which lead to creation of another cycle of life. What kind of life man would like to have to be created by his soul? This is the day of judgment. This is what man never understood. Now you have to understand. You have no choice. Up to today you were not aware of it. From today you are aware of it. You are responsible for it. Your conduct has to be to elevate your soul. That in elevating the soul, what you become the creator of stands correct in the conduct of the citizens. We don't give fairy tale. This is the truth. But as you've seen, the process does not stop with one sun. The cycle carries on. It's very interesting in how humanity now knows in fact to handle the fact. It'll take decades for man to understand, and then you understand those who become the tools of war, the tools of conflict. They have nothing to start with. They have to become the dust in the solar system of the others till the day they learn more, as they cannot create a new cycle through their own soul. This is the elevation of the soul of the man. To be part of the creation of a beautiful life for the next cycle. When you don't have it, you have to become another cell in the body of the structure of the bigger, for you to be just there that you can done when you could have been the soul of the man. They say, do not create fear. I give you the point of love for creation. If you cared about your children on this planet to have the best, your true children come out of your own soul in the coming time. How would you like to educate them? How would you like to be when you are in conflict with yourself and the cause of so much mayhem? This is the truth, and the man will take a long time to understand, as now that we understand the soul of the man is the operator for the creation of the future extent of the life of the man. Whatever is gathered by the soul at the end becomes his point of reference of his own creation, of his own dimension. But the strangest thing is, what he creates from his soul shall become the creator of the other souls. This is the beauty about the creation, and one understands it, understands no limitation.